Hey, my name is Denisa Hobbs, and the members of my group are Kristen Johnson, Albert Bailey, and Derek Stevens. And we had organizing collective action. And that's what I'll be discussing with you today. This chapter starts out by saying, I'm one person. I can't do it alone. I can yell, scream, and push and all that, but really I'm just one voice out there. There has to be a larger number of people doing the same things I'm doing. I just haven't met them yet. Meyerson tells us that when operating independently as a temperate radical has taken you as far as you can go, organizing a collective action is the next step. Simply stated, organizing a collective action is a collaborative effort of like-minded people working toward a common goal, particularly when there isn't a formal authority present. Another definition given by Meyerson is groups taking action while working toward a common goal. When individuals engage in collective action, the strengths of the group's resources, knowledge, and effort combines all parties to more readily achieve a shared goal. All right. There are typically three conditions for fostering organizing a collective action. One, the presence of immediate political opportunities or threats. Now, this typically happens when there's a sudden opening of political opportunity for a set of individuals to exploit. One example of this would be wildlife advocates taking advantage of a big oil spill from a big company to push through stricter EPA standards, especially when they've been working on it for years. And this may be done by putting up media of ducks who are covered in oil. This may be done by getting petition signatures of those who live by the oil spill and things of the like. Number two, the second way to foster, or the second way that fosters collective action is taking available structures for members to organize themselves into a collective. This typically happens when there is a present concern or something major happens. So this can be, an example of this could be student organization forms at a local high school to combat bullying. They could go into the principal. They could, again, do a petition. They could talk to one of the teachers and have a class organization on it. Those are just examples. The third and final way are ways that foster having a collective organizing a collective action is framing a collective identity, opportunities, or threat. With this condition, framing the threat or opportunity is actively interpreted in terms relevant to the interest of the group of the people. At minimum, doing this makes the group, one, feel better by acting together and only together, and two, they can exploit the opportunity. An example of this would be Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They have a collective opportunity and identity. The threat is the drunk drivers, and so by them forming the group, they can take advantage of the opportunity. Meyerson gives us three distinct paths for organizing a collective action. So after you have found that these events foster the need for an organization, there are three paths you can take in doing this. One is organizing a group to respond to a shared threat or opportunity. Here, it's a loosely connected set of individuals who mobilize a collective force by a shared threat, paired with a frame that points to the importance of acting together to redress the threat. In other words, a conscious effort to mobilize a group to address a threat or opportunity. All right, so an example of this could be the same student group at JCPS to combat the anti-bullying. These students who all feel threatened, they go in together, go into the principal's office or even to a school board meeting to request an anti-bullying law for the following year. The second path for organizing a collective action is igniting a group with a spark of lone individuals' actions. With this path, one or more temperate radical takes a small action, which creates an occasion for uncovering and framing an issue with a broader appeal. This reflects when a lone individual action is a catalyst that interests others and intentionally, unintentionally, or otherwise frames a group identity or purpose. An example of this could be a person who is not able-bodied writing a letter to the city transportation system asking if they could be more accommodating to persons with disability. Inside that letter is a petition with about 250 signatures of non-able-bodied persons who feel the same way as that one person. Forming a group to combat the social isolation is the last one. For personal and professional support. Organizing with the purpose of generating social and professional support and then takes on the social agenda. All right, so this could be a group who feels isolated in their action. So an example of this could be working mothers at a company assembling with other working mothers to deal with the required overtime. And they feel overwhelmed by this, and they feel that they're not able to be successful at home and at work by meeting the maximum or minimum required overtime. And so they get together, they band together to organize a group to speak with the superiors about this. Now Kristen will take on the rest.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit more about aspects of the collective action, like building them and what to do with them. Myerson tells us that when building collective actions, there are 4 things to take into consideration. 1, to make sure you clarify the issue in the movement. When you're going to do a collective action, you're going to have lots of people involved, and you're going to have lots of thoughts and opinions. It's good to get together and clarify what your issue is, what your main goal is, and to make sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone's thoughts are heard, but you all ultimately have one ultimate goal. You want to be sure the internal culture in the collective encompasses different identity groups within the group. So you want to have a very diverse group. You don't want to have like all, females or all white males or all black males. You want to have a collective group of different populations and diversity. That way you have different opinions, and it shows that people are coming together more. You want to ensure that your leadership is also diverse and doesn't reflect one dominant group. You want to solicit outside support from people or groups who identify with possible sub-goals as well as the core issue. A good example of soliciting this outside support with a group that has the same ultimate goal would be last Monday, a bunch of JCPS employees rallied together outside the board meeting, and we rallied for our right to better pay and better contracts because they're trying to stop our step raises and take down our contracts so we do not get the raises and the health benefits we need. What we did is we did not only form a collective action of employees, but we also sought help from Kentucky Jobs for Justice. And this man that runs Kentucky Jobs for Justice and is a big advocate on supporting minimum wage and making sure that people have equal pay and equal rights came out, and he talked to the news media and did all this stuff for us with the support of us. We were there, but he kind of came as a front man to give us some leadership. Now I'm going to talk about sanctioned groups and unsanctioned groups. In sanctioned groups, these groups have management and authority figures, and they will usually provide support and legitimized structure and protection for those who engage in the action. They are less likely to disintegrate. So this would be more of like I was talking about with the JCPS group. We were union-led. We were put together with our union and brought together, so we knew we had support. We knew that we didn't have any fear of losing our jobs or retaliation for what we were doing. So that is more of your sanction group, where you have somebody that comes together like a union and says, hey, you need to come support yourself and support this cause, and gets everybody together on the same page. Unsanctioned groups, they give more freedom in defining their collective identities and agendas, and they're more necessary. They work more behind the scenes to provide resources and help others in the group. So an unsanctioned group would be, say, if you work in a place that doesn't have a union, but you all aren't getting the right fair pay that you wanted. Say you work behind the scenes to say, like, how can we do this? How can we talk to our bosses and get fair pay or better benefits? So that would be more of an unsanctioned group that didn't have a leader. The challenges to organizing a collective action is that, one, a collective action is usually more threatening than individual action to those in charge. So this path can entail additional risk and require further level of commitment. I guess you would see this as more people like rallying around. You could, with so many people, you think it's going to be beneficial to have lots of people, but it's also a threat because people can take it as a threat. You can scare them. You know, you don't know what kind of action you're going to take. Sometimes when you go and say, like, we were protesting Monday night, you also run the risk of getting arrested. So, I mean, we knew we weren't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen to us, but that doesn't mean it won't happen to other people. Collective action can require negotiating agreement among people. You can worry about trade-offs and other coordinating different approaches. With a collective action, you run the risk of people taking trade-offs. Say if you have a bunch of single moms that, want daycare at their work. Well, some might take extra pay and back off and not want the daycare at work, but what does that do for the other moms? So when you have a collective action, you might have to worry about people being, taking falling off the bandwagon, would what you would say. Another challenge is effectively framing collective agendas to encompass the interests and identities of diverse constituents can become problematic. When we talked about just a little bit ago about making sure that you have lots of diversity, that can also be a problem because everybody has different goals and different opinions, and sometimes when people get passionate, they forget what the ultimate goal is and they're only out for themselves. Things to consider when building a collective action is motivation. The most important part is to make sure that you're motivated towards your goal and to make sure everyone involved is motivated towards the same goal. You want to build your group around motivated, passionate, and informed individuals. Some may be passionate about fighting for a cause, but they may not be informed. You don't want people going out and supporting your cause when they know nothing about it. So the best thing to do is then inform them. Somebody might be passionate about minimum wage even though they make $60,000 a year, but they don't understand why it's important to be passionate about raising minimum wage. So you want to make sure that you give them the info they need. Important information was when you build a group, it is important to make sure people are informed and educated. We already talked about that. And to make sure that you get other organizations involved, like we talked about Kentucky Jobs for the Justice. So what I wanted to read out of the book was that at the end it says, in all cases they depend on three basic conditions of collective action: existence of threat or opportunity, a viable existing or potential structure for an organization, and effective framing that links a threat or opportunity to a collective purpose and identity. And one group that we thought really, it might not be a workplace group, that really incorporates a collective action is Pact in Action. That is a local group. It is teen-led. It's very diverse. There's teens from different areas of the city, but it does target the Algonquin Parkway, California neighborhoods, but you have teens of different cultures in there, and they have support from Kentucky Center for Women and Families and another Kentucky One Health, I think it is. But the teens run it. They came together. They want to stop intimate partner violence and teen dating violence, and they run it. They do different things to raise awareness, but ultimately they are all there for the same reason, and they did a really good job of organizing these teens did a really good job of organizing and coming together to build a committee where there are adults, but they kind of just sit to the back and the teens run it. So they all are there doing their own thing. And in conclusion, while tempered radicals certainly lead important change through quiet and individual actions, joining forces and leading collective actions broadens the impact and often deepens the benefits of those changes. We want to thank you all for listening and make sure you check out the link we post.